Welcome back, everyone. We're about to take another deep dive into AI, and let me tell you, the stuff we've got lined up today is pretty mind-blowing.
It really is an incredible time to be following this field.
Seriously, we're talking cutting edge, straight from the source, innovations, and we're going to unpack how it could totally change the game for all of us.
Absolutely. The pace of development is just phenomenal, and the implications are, well, pretty massive.
So we've got quantum AI on the docket today, then we'll jump into how AI is shaking up the art world, and finally we're going to tackle those ethical dilemmas around self-driving cars.
A lot to cover.
Definitely a lot to cover. Okay, let's kick things off with this quantum AI breakthrough. One of our sources, it highlights this new quantum AI model, right? And get this, it's blowing classical algorithms out of the water, at least for certain data analysis tasks.
It's a pretty significant leap, that's for sure.
I mean, it's like comparing, I don't know, a horse and buggy to a supersonic jet, right? Just in terms of speed and processing power.
The core difference lies in how it utilizes qubits. So unlike the bits in our everyday computers, these qubits operate according to quantum mechanics.
Quantum mechanics, that sounds complex.
Well, on a basic level, it means these qubits can exist in multiple states all at the same time. And this allows them to, sort of tackle complex calculations in a totally different way.
So it's not just a little faster, it's like a completely different approach to solving problems.
Exactly. And this leads to much, much faster solutions.
Our source actually gave this really cool example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They talk about a financial modeling problem, the kind that would normally take days for a classical computer to crunch through.
Right.
This quantum AI.
Yeah.
It solved it in minutes.
Really highlights the potential, doesn't it?
I mean, can you imagine the time saved? And that's just one example.
Oh, for sure. And it's not just speed. The real game changer is the ability to solve problems that currently are impossible, even for our most powerful computers. Some problems, classical computers just hit a wall.
Like they're not built for it, you're saying?
Right. But quantum computers, they can be designed to tackle those problems head on.
And we're talking real-world applications here. Our sources mention drug discovery and climate modeling. I mean, those are huge.
Hugely important. Imagine designing new drugs or modeling complex climate scenarios with a level of speed and accuracy that we can only dream of right now.
It almost feels like sci-fi.
It does, but this is the reality we're moving towards.
Okay, so tons of potential, but I'm guessing there are some hurdles too, right?
There are. One of the main ones is quantum error correction. These qubits are, they're very sensitive to their environment.
So any little disruption throws things off.
Exactly, and that can lead to errors in calculation. Think of it like trying to write on on a roller coaster.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Right, you need some way to compensate for that instability. Researchers they're working on some pretty clever ways to detect and correct these errors.
So that's essential for making these quantum computers actually reliable. It seems like there are still some technical kinks to work out then, before we see quantum AI everywhere.
There are, but the progress being made is, it's pretty impressive, to say the least. Now, shall we shift gears a bit?
Yeah, let's jump into AI and the art world.
This is where things get really interesting.
Right. One of our sources talks about this AI tool called Artisan.
Artisan.
And it can create art, but not just random patterns. We're talking art that actually evokes emotions,
Yeah.
It hits you.
It's fascinating, really. Artisan uses deep learning, which is a type of AI that involves training artificial neural networks on, massive amounts of data.
Okay, so feeding it tons of information.
You're right. And in this case, Artisan has been trained on a huge collection of artworks. So it's able to analyze and understand the nuances of artistic styles, techniques, even the emotions that art conveys.
No, it's not just copying existing art. It's
Yeah.
It's learning the core principles of what makes art, art.
Exactly.
And then it can create something new from that.
And what's even more remarkable is that Artisan can either create its own original pieces, or it can collaborate with human artists.
Whoa, collaborate. So it's like an AI art buddy.
In a sense, yes. A very advanced art buddy.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. What does it even mean for AI to be a co-creator? Does this change how we define art?
It definitely raises some profound questions about the nature of art and the role of the artist. And of course, there are also practical questions.
Oh, right. How does this impact artists who are not AI?
And exactly. How will AI-generated art be valued compared to human-made art? Will it create new opportunities, or will it disrupt existing art practices? These are all things the art world is wrestling with right now.
It's exciting, but also a little unsettling, Okay, let's move on to another area where AI is making waves. Self-driving cars.
This is where we really delve into the ethical side of AI.
Yeah, programming morality into a machine. That's got to be tricky.
It's extremely tricky. One of our sources uses the classic trolley problem to illustrate this.
Refresh my memory on that one.
It's that thought experiment, you know? You have to choose between two bad outcomes in an unavoidable accident scenario.
Oh, right, right. So how do you program a car to make those kinds of choices?
It's a huge question, and researchers are working on frameworks for ethical decision-making in autonomous vehicles.
So like guidelines for AI to follow.
Right. One framework, outlined in our source, prioritizes minimizing harm.
Minimizing harm, okay.
So it's all about programming self-driving cars to prioritize human life and reduce the severity of accidents when accidents are unavoidable.
But it's not just about saving lives in general, right?
Yeah.
The source talks about these like really complex factors.
Right. Age of potential victims, likelihood of survival, all of that needs to be considered.
So it's trying to assign value to different lives, basically.
It's incredibly difficult, but that's what the framework tries to do. It's about translating human morals and values into code that a machine can use.
That's a lot of pressure on a machine.
It is, and it raises the question of how we can make sure those programmed values actually align with our own.
Yeah, and how much trust we should place in those AI systems to make those calls.
Big questions, no easy answers.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're even having this conversation shows how far AI has come and the potential it has to reshape our future.
It really is both exciting and, well, yeah, a little scary.
I agree. A fascinating mix of both.
Okay, so we've talked quantum AI, AI artists,
Uh-huh.
and now self-driving cars with a conscience.
A lot to digest.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. There's so much more to explore. It really makes you think, doesn't it? All these possibilities.
Definitely. Okay, so we've covered some seriously mind-bending stuff with quantum AI, and even dipped our toes into the art world. But I want to circle back to those self-driving cars. Those ethical questions, they're fascinating.
Yeah, they're at the heart of it all, really.
So we talked about that framework, the one for, helping those cars make tough decisions.
Right, minimizing harm.
But it brings up even more questions, right? Like, how do we decide which factors matter most? Is it just about the number of lives? Or are there other things, other things to consider?
It's tricky. That framework tries to take all sorts of things into account. Age, chances of survival. But putting like a specific weight on those things, that's a huge ethical dilemma.
It's almost like we're trying to, I don't know, quantify the value of a human life.
That's exactly what it is. A really tough philosophical problem, and we're trying to, well, program it into a machine.
It almost feels like impossible,
It's a massive challenge, and it really forces us to confront these deeper questions, not just about the tech, but about ourselves, about society, about ethics.
And it's not just about one set of ethics, right? I mean, different cultures, different beliefs, all that comes into play too.
Absolutely. We need to be thinking globally here. As AI becomes more and more part of our lives, we need global standards, guidelines, to make sure things are developed ethically across cultures, across different contexts.
It's a tall order.
It is,
Yeah.
but absolutely necessary.
Okay, so I want to rewind for a second, back to quantum AI.
Sure.
One thing that really stood out, it's the potential impact on things like drug discovery, climate modeling.
Right. Huge potential there.
Can you paint us a picture? Like, what would that actually look like in the real world?
Well, imagine a world where we could design personalized medicine tailored to your specific DNA.
Like custom-made medicine.
Exactly. Quantum AI could help us get there. By simulating molecular interactions with incredible accuracy, imagine being able to identify the absolute best treatment for each individual patient.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like something from like a sci-fi movie.
It does feel that way, right? And then with climate modeling, we could create these incredibly complex models, more accurate than anything we have now. We could simulate the interactions between, the atmosphere, oceans, all of it. And with so much detail, it could revolutionize how we understand and respond to climate change.
It's mind-blowing, the scale of what we could achieve.
It is, and we're still just scratching the surface.
Okay, so back to the art world.
Yeah.
That artisan thing, it really got me thinking about, AI as a collaborator. Not just a tool, but a partner.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like having an AI apprentice bouncing ideas off of each other, pushing the boundaries of creativity.
Exactly. And it's not just visual art. We're seeing similar tools for music, for writing, even for dance. The possibilities are endless. Human creativity Combined with AI's capabilities, it's a whole new frontier.
It really makes you wonder what the future of art will look like.
Right. Will we even be able to tell the difference between human-created art and AI-generated art? Or will it become a seamless blend?
And what does that mean for artists, for the value of art? Big questions.
Big questions indeed.
Speaking of big questions, let's go back to those self-driving cars. One thing I keep thinking about is, well, what about those situations where there's no easy answer? Like real-world driving split-second decisions.
Right. Even humans make mistakes.
So how do we even begin to program a car for that?
It all comes back to those ethical frameworks. It's not just rules. It's about giving AI the ability to reason, to learn, to adapt to those complex, messy situations.
So it's about making AI not just intelligent, but like ethically aware.
Exactly. It's a huge challenge. It requires us to think about things like trust, empathy, our own sense of right and wrong, and how do we translate that into, code.
It's a fascinating problem.
It really is. And it's going to require collaboration. Computer scientists, ethicists, philosophers, even psychologists, we need all hands on deck to figure this out.
It sounds like we've got a lot of work to do.
We do, but it's exciting work that could really change the world.
Okay, so quantum AI, we talked about that. But I'm curious, what's the timeline? Like, when will we actually see it being used for, real-world stuff?
It's hard to say for sure. Things are moving so fast. But we're already seeing amazing things in research labs. Some experts think we could see practical applications within maybe a decade or two.
Wow, that's sooner than I thought.
Yeah, progress is accelerating. But there are still challenges, like scaling up those quantum computers. They're still limited in terms of how many qubits they can handle.
So it's like the early days of computers, right?
Yeah.
Big, expensive, but eventually they get smaller, faster, more affordable.
That's a good analogy. As the tech gets better, as production costs go down, we'll see quantum AI becoming more accessible, used in more and more industries.
Okay, last question. Back to the art world. I know some people are worried that, AI will replace artists, that it'll devalue human creativity.
It's a valid concern, but I see it more as augmentation. AI tools like Artisan, they're like creative partners,
Yeah.
expanding the possibilities, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
So it's not about replacing, it's about enhancing.
Right. AI can help artists overcome blocks, explore new ideas, create things they never could before.
So we should embrace it, not fear it.
I think so. It's about using AI to make art richer, more diverse, more exciting.
I like that. Okay, one last thing about self-driving cars. Accountability.
Yeah.
If a self-driving car causes an accident, who's responsible?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Legally, ethically, it's a minefield. Our current legal systems, they're built around human drivers. We need to figure out how those systems apply to autonomous vehicles.
So it's not just the tech itself. We need to rethink the whole system.
Exactly. We need clear guidelines, regulations. We need to ensure accountability, transparency, fairness. This is where policymakers, legal experts, everyone needs to work together.
It's a lot to figure out.
It is, but it's crucial that we do.
Okay, before we wrap things up, one thing that really struck me throughout this whole conversation is that the future of AI, it's not set in stone. We're the ones shaping it, right? Through our choices, our investments, the conversations we have about it.
I completely agree. This isn't something that's just happening to us. It's something we're creating together. And we need to be conscious of that, deliberate in our actions.
It's both empowering and, well, a little intimidating,
It is, but also incredibly exciting. We have this incredible opportunity to shape the future, to make sure AI serves humanity, not the other way around.
Okay, as we get ready to wrap up this amazing deep dive, any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
AI is changing everything, and it's up to all of us to make sure it changes things for the better. Stay informed, stay engaged, and be part of the conversation, because the future of AI, it's the future of all of us.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We can't just sit back and let it happen. We've got to be active participants in this.
Absolutely, and that starts with knowledge, with understanding these technologies. The more we know, the better equipped we are to have those conversations, to make those choices.
For sure. Okay, one last thing before we wrap up this whole deep dive. The thing that keeps hitting me is the speed of it all.
It is remarkable, isn't it? Just how fast AI is developing.
It's almost like every day there's some new breakthrough, some new, I don't know, innovation. It's a lot to keep up with.
It's true. The pace of progress is really something else. It's a testament to the brilliant minds working in this field, their dedication.
But honestly, it can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
How do we even stay on top of it all? How do we make sure we're making good decisions, smart decisions about AI and its role in our lives?
I think the key is to focus on the fundamentals, the ethics, because those things, they don't change as quickly as the specific technologies.
So even as things evolve, we need to keep those core principles, those ethical considerations, front and center.
Exactly. And we need to be constantly learning, having open conversations about the potential, the good and the bad, the risks and the benefits. It's an ongoing process.
And I think it's important to acknowledge, not everyone's thrilled about AI. There's fear out there
Yeah.
about jobs being replaced, about AI being used for bad things.
And even, those bigger questions, like what happens if AI becomes smarter than us? Could it become a threat?
Those are some pretty heavy questions.
They are. But I think a lot of those fears, they come from, well, from not understanding AI, how it works, the safeguards that are being built in.
So how do we address that? How do we have a more balanced, more informed conversation about all this?
Education, I think, is key. We
Yeah.
need to demystify AI, make it less scary, less unknown, and we need to be honest about the challenges, the potential downsides, but also highlight the incredible opportunities.
It's about finding that balance.
It is, and ultimately it's about shared responsibility. We all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Well said. Okay, this has been amazing. So much to think about. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave our listeners with as we wrap up this deep dive?
AI is here, it's changing the world as we speak, and it's up to us to make sure it changes the world for the better. So stay curious, keep learning, and most importantly, be part of the conversation. Because the future of AI, it's our future.
I love that. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope this has been insightful, thought-provoking, maybe even a little inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring. Stay curious.